How y'all doing, man? It's your boy, the comment, KHA_man.510. That's the Bay. Catch me on Universal the Base. Catch me on What It Sound Like podcast, where you get your best reviews and interviews. And catch me here on Tapping No Capping, where if you're nerdy, you see anything, what's your opinion? What's going on with my boy, Strawhead Jew? What it do?
What's happening, man? It's your boy Straw Hat Joofy. Make it do what it do. You can find me here and there and everywhere else like air, man. Back with another one like the other one. How y'all doing tonight?
All right. Mealers.
Hi, I'm Mealers. I'm a cosplayer, and yeah, you can find me on here and not here, my bad, on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, you here, ain't you?
I'm in. Whatever. Yeah.
And our special guest, the man of the hour, the man who blessed us with his time, gave us the honor. You know what I'm saying? Be like water, as he say. How you doing, Mr. Antoine Bandele?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Bandele. It's funny because my names all come from different places. So, Antoine is French. William, my middle name, is English. And then Bandele, which is not my birth name, actually, is Yoruba from Nigeria. It's funny, too, because it's like... it was my birth name was Bailey, which my dad thought was an Irish slave name, but it wasn't, as we figured out later on in some stuff. But he actually went into just a book of family names, and found Bandele because it meant born away from home. So he's like, that one. And then I did my ancestry thing. I was like, you actually got the right tribe. So like, good on you. Like, I don't know. He didn't do that on purpose, obviously. He just like, West Africa. We probably came from there. But I was like, oh no, you were actually on the money on that one.
That's dope. So what is your tribe? What is your ethnicity?
Yoruba. It's the Yoruba. So the Yoruba come from Nigeria and Benin, Eastern Benin and Western Nigeria, Southwest Nigeria, mostly like Lagos, if you're familiar with like Nigerian capital. Right in that area. And also like my second highest one was Ghana. So like the Akan people. And then of course European is the third place there.
Okay, that's what's up. So that's your cultural background, but where you from is LA, correct?
Oh, LA. That's where I'm born and raised. Yeah, and that's funny too, because when I started working like out of college, and then I started like asking people like where they're from, most people are not actually from LA, which was very surprising to me. I was like, people from like the Midwest, they're from like New York or Florida or something like that. So yeah, I'm a rare breed of being born and raised here.
Okay, that's what's up. How did you feel? And let me bring it up real quick. And we got comments flowing in and whatnot. But how did you feel about LA Comic-Con?
Oh my God. Okay, so there's a big story on that one. Well, not really a big story. So I was supposed to do LA Comic-Con in 2020. But then we all know what happened at the end of that story.
Right.
So I had wanted to build up my catalog first, because I think at that time, when I first started making books, I only had like 1, 2. But by that point, I think I had like 5 at that point. So I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to go to Comic-Con. But fast forward to this year, and I actually did it, and it was extremely successful. I think I made 4 times my table. So I was like, yeah, I should be doing this like more often. Like I applied to San Diego, I applied to Dragon Con, New York, going to this Washington DC book festival. So definitely 2024, like a big thing for me is going to be doing live events, and really, really shaking that out.
Okay, that's what's up, because we more than likely gonna be both at San Diego Comic-Con this year coming up. So it'd be dope to run into you again.
Yeah, hopefully. If I get a table, I'll let you know.
Bet. Yeah, what's funny? That's how I found you.
What?
So like, I'm a fan. I've been a fan since forever. You feel me? I've been following you for a long time. You do versus debates, you know what I mean, on your own channel. That
on my YouTube channel, yeah.
On your YouTube channel. So that kind of like, if you see my Instagram, it's nothing but versus talk. You're just really insightful about all the things that you're into. You know what I'm saying? So I've been a fan for a long time. So when I was following you on Instagram, I'm like, oh, he here. I'm like, I gotta find him. So you posted it.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, someone else told me like that too. Yeah.
And I had to look at the map, like, all right, where is this at?
Yeah, that was so bad. Yeah. That was so tough to like navigate. Yeah, someone else told me, but even more random, they said they just saw me on Instagram, like, period. Because I think Instagram, they follow you. They know, like, oh, you're going to LA Comic-Con. Here's a post from LA Comic-Con. And she's like, oh. And then she like went through like my whole catalog and was like, I'm gonna go meet this person. It's like, that's cool. So it's good on me for actually using social media, because I'm actually very good at using social media a lot of the times.
Speaking of some of these,
anything else I have a problem with, I'm an Instagram person. I try to do everything else, but it don't really work out.
Yeah, I realized that Instagram's kind of my home. I can't really do. I'm not into TikTok. YouTube, people consider that social media, but I don't. YouTube, I'm on all the time. But yeah, those are like my two main ones: Instagram and YouTube.
I would consider YouTube social media. I think that's just a broadcasting platform.
That's what I would say too.
So speaking of some of these people that's in the comments, I just want to give a shout out to one Strawhead Joofy that's in here. You know what I mean? Shout out to the One Piece Alliance. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to him and his endeavors. And then we also got Kaori, who you met at LA Comic Con.
Okay.
But this is her separate podcast as well, called Nerd on the Street. And then shout out to Mike, who's in the comments for We Got Questions. You know what I mean? They did a good episode last Monday, which I also tuned into. So yeah, just give a shout out to our people and whatnot. But my
fellow
yes, sir. So we want to talk about the origins of Mr. Antoine.
Oh my god, that's old. That's before I had locks, dang.
Oh, talk to us, man. What's up with the, you know what I'm saying? Tell us about this man.
Dude, you know what's so funny about that picture in particular is because I have been growing my hair for a minute, and it's not usually that big. I just, my barber was like messing around. He had like the blow dryer, and he's like, "Hey, you want to do a blowout?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." Like, cause at that point I was like experimenting with my hair, and he did it, and I looked like a 70s, like, what's that? A Leroy? No, what the? Oh my god, what's the name of that movie from like the 70s? Bruce Leroy.
Okay, yeah. We love that. The Last Dragon.
Last Dragon. There it is. Yeah.
Looking like Bushido Brown. I don't know.
Yeah. I know from Boondocks, right?
You really remind me of bro from Roll Bounce. Is what.
Oh, Bow Wow when he was in there.
Or the other dude, but yeah. So the reason why I chose this picture, not only is this a younger you, but also because it reminds me a lot of TJ. TJ's hair is kind of like that.
Oh so yeah, for sure. But
was kind of wondering, is any of the character of TJ have any resemblance to do with Antoine? Like, what was your childhood like? Is it anything similar to TJ? Talk to us about that.
I think we share. I mean, I don't think our personalities are the same necessarily. I think he's a little bit more reserved and quiet. Like, I actually set out to make a book where the main character is a Hufflepuff. And if you're not familiar with Harry Potter, Hufflepuffs are like the kind people who are just like, I don't want to be like center of attention, like very anti-Gryffindor. I wanted to sit down and make a story, but like we would vibe on like the geeky stuff that he talks about. Like he's like really into like Star Wars, and I think he mentions Airbender in there. He talks about Bruce Lee. He talks about being water. We would vibe off of that stuff. But in terms of like personality, like we're definitely not the same in that regard.
Okay. So you're from LA, and so is TJ.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a reason why you chose that climate for this character?
Oh, that's only because I know that city, so it's a lot easier to have. I mean, people talk about like, write what you know, which is true to an extent. I mean, you shouldn't just write what you know. Obviously, you should expand out, but it makes it easier, especially when you're writing like a big fantasy story where you have to do all this like world building and magic building. So I knew it would be easier because like the tone of his voice, the culture and stuff like that, like. I would just know that with him. I wouldn't have to like research or like figure it out. I mean, granted, I do have to figure it out with his friend group because we have Manny Martinez, who's an Afro Latina from Brooklyn, which I got a lot of help from my narrator because she is also from Brooklyn. The reason why that character is actually from Brooklyn is because my narrator is from Brooklyn. And I was like, hey, is it cool if I like make her based off of you? And she said, yeah. So if you hear the audiobook, you'll hear like an authentic Brooklyn accent, with Manny. And then Ayodeji was the one I would know the least about. So I made him a little bit more, and Ayodeji obviously is, and they're actually here. So that's TJ and that's Ayo, but a little bit older because this is the third book.
Gotcha.
He is the Nigerian of the group. So I knew the least about that. I had friends who were from Nigeria. I had people who read the book who were from Nigeria. But I made him the most distant, of the group because I was like, I too don't know it. So I do that kind of thing intentionally. But yeah, him from LA is something that reminiscent of me. Also his dad being in the military, something that my dad was in as well. He's a military guy, also a sports guy. I think his dad is in the book a sports guy and also previously from the military. And then the mom was like completely fabricated. Like my mom's not Nigerian, or at least she's distantly Nigerian, but she's not like first generation Nigerian. So that was almost a complete fabrication. I actually based her mostly on, if you are familiar with the author Nnedi Okorafor, who wrote the Binti trilogy and a few others. She's a very renowned African author. I believe she's Igbo, if I'm not mistaken, which is another Nigerian group. And she has like the same like kind of like palm tree dreadlocks that are like stuck up. I kind of based her the mother in it off of her. And then the brother, based on my brother a little bit too. He was always annoying, very smart, and very like sharp.
Okay, so there's a lot of commonality because that's the same thing with his brother.
Yeah.
In the book, like how his brother is just kind of like a star and he just gets everything right, but TJ kind of messes up. So go back to that question we pulled up. We have a question from the Then and Now podcast. Shout out to Charlie, shout out to Otis, shout out to my boy Ethan. They all was at LA Comic Con. They work with blurred.com. He wants to know, how often did you deal with writer's block during this book's creation?
It's actually funny. I actually didn't have a lot of writer's block with the first 4 stories because there's also like novella short stories that take place in the middle of these books. It wasn't until the most recent novella that I did, which takes place between books 2 and 3, that actually got me the most stuck. And it's only like 40,000 words. And, you know, most of my books are like 140,000, 120,000 words. And I was just stuck. And that one was about Shango and Thor and like what they're doing like in the cosmic realm, which this is also this is Shango. He's the Orisha of lightning. And I said, oh, let me pair him with like Thor, because like a lot of people will be familiar with Thor, and that would be like the segue into, hey, let's learn about Shango the Orisha. But that I was so blocked on that one because it's like a little bit of a complicated plot because it has to do with like the past and like the future and like this weird timey-wimey stuff. And also I just didn't really know what the theme was. With the main books, it's a lot easier because it's contemporary. It's, you know, real world, hidden world, and magical world, but it's you know, real world, and it's a lot easier for me to get through that. But once it gets more steeped in just pure fantasy, that's where it takes me a lot longer to like develop a lot of things, especially when you're dealing with something that's going to like affect the rest of the series as well. But yeah, I didn't really have a lot of writer's block at all. I think also because I have a very good system in place. I recruit a bunch of alpha readers, beta readers, and then my editors. Okay. So in each round, if I ever at any point have any kind of stumbling point, I just like reach out and be like, hey, I'm working on the scene. I'm not sure how. It's not so much of a block because I know what needs to happen because I'm an outliner. It's more of a case of how to execute and how to execute it well. That's my main thing. Not so much a block necessarily, as much as a quality check. What sequence of events would make the most sense or would make this most impactful, you know, kind of a thing, versus it being like, I don't know what to do at all, you know, kind of a thing.
Right. Okay. So I want to segue into the actual book since we already been talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Talking about TJ Young and the Orishas. This book is the Gatekeepers Staff. We are here again with my man, Antoine Bandele. You know what I'm saying? This is his Instagram, so please give him a follow. Check out his YouTube and whatnot. And the reason why I want to segue is because you brought up, I forget what you said her title was, but she was one of the voices on the audiobook. And,
Nakia Renee Martin. I definitely want to shout her out.
She's from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, she's from Brooklyn, yeah.
So, with that being said, you know, Mealer's been a little quiet. Please tell this man, how did you feel about the audiobook?
Okay, the audiobook, are you saying that she was for the voice of Manny Martinez, like the authentic Brooklyn accent? Did she do all the accents then?
No, she did all the accents. Like the Nigerian ones. Big old cookie, and I just got like what? Let's give her a cookie. I thought you did that.
I like
give her this cookie. You know, I think she had to do a lot too. I think it was Nigerian, obviously. She had to do the Brooklyn. Oh, she had to do like the Creole, the Southern. Yeah. No, she's great. She actually recently got picked up by Penguin Random House, which is like one of the top 3, you know, like audiobook people, or companies, I should say. And she's doing it. I think she's got like 3 or 4 books on pre-order right now. And I'm so happy for her. She even asked, like, because she was going to do like a mentorship program, and I needed to like give her a reference. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna give you a reference. And I'm so glad that she did it, because I know sometimes with actors they have imposter syndrome and don't want to apply to these things. You know, I'm so glad she did it, because now she's doing the damn thing.
Mealers?
Oh, and she was a coworker of mine. So I used to work at Apple before I went into the YouTube thing.
Y'all got Y'all got some rapport with each other. That's what's up.
Oh yeah. So it's funny. We actually didn't really talk to each other when we actually were at Apple. I just recalled that she was an actress, so we actually talk more now. Now that we've done like the audiobooks, and we do a lot of gigs together, beyond just my audiobooks, but other people's audiobooks. So yeah, it's funny. It's kind of sometimes when you have like a certain high school friend where you're like, yeah, I didn't really talk to him in high school, but then for some reason, like later on, like in life, you're like, oh yeah, now we hang out because such and such.
Like that.
Oh,
okay. I would like to speak on the Creole and Southern accent. It wasn't my favorite in the book, and it made me go into reading it instead of hearing the audio. That's what I was gonna say. Which is why I held up the cookie, because then you put her in all these high regards, and I feel bad, but it's the truth.
No, that's gonna happen with any narrator you have. They're not gonna be able to do every single accent like perfectly. What you're really looking for are the main ones, like the ones that are going to be most frequent within the book. Because they're using, I think, there was one in book 2 where she couldn't do, and I was like, let's just like not make that character that thing. I think it was like a Japanese or something like that, and I was like, that's good. It's like 2 lines for this character. We don't, not that big of a deal. That stuff is gonna happen.
So I would like to, as a reporter likes to do, I would like to quote exactly what she said when she messaged me about it. She said, I said, let's bring that up during the video. She said, and I will. And she says, Get a Creole is giving, if Channing Tatum would actually been Gambit. Glad that movie didn't come out. And
wait, was that really supposed to be a thing? Was that a rumor?
That was supposed to be a thing, apparently. Yeah.
What?
See, but like, no.
Say that again.
Not you.
That Shannon Sharp was gonna be Gambit.
Yeah, they promote that a few times, like. Yeah. But yeah, so I followed up with my name's Jeff, but besides that, I have the physical copy. You know what I mean? Which I appreciate that you signed for me and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You was very gracious. They say they shouldn't meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you, but you was very lovely to meet in person and, very personable. And you don't get that from a lot of people because.
Yeah, I actually heard that. I was actually surprised at Comic-Con. There are a lot of people that like met me for the first time. Yeah, that people were like, yo, you're so like chill. And I was like, are most people not? Like, I feel like I was just being normal. You know what I mean? Like,
I think for like some people, and you are relatively new, so hopefully you don't turn into these people.
Oh, like get jaded. Yeah,
has been in here for a long period of time. Like rest in peace, JDF. He's the main person people talk about. Like me starting my Comic-Con experience, I'm a big Power Ranger fan. Everybody that knows me know that. When I started off, everybody told me, because I had friends that worked with him prior to me seeing him, and it was just like, bro, he's an asshole. Every person I bought signed material from fans that met him, and he ruined their whole experience. And they saw
which actor? Who did he play?
Yeah, he plays the Green and White Ranger.
Oh, the Green and White Ranger. Okay. So, wait, Tommy? You mean Tommy?
Yeah.
Tommy. Oh, the guy. Oh, yeah, the one who he just passed, right? Like 2 years ago.
Passed away.
Wait,
yeah. So
Tommy's terrible.
Yeah. So a lot of my friends and a lot of people that I even stood in line with him that had met him before, it's like, yeah, after so long, he might get irritated, autographs, or he makes stuff so quick, or he doesn't sometimes give people their recognition when they pull up. But me, I've learned from that statement. Every time I meet somebody famous, I keep it very brief. I don't even want to talk to you that long because I don't want you to ruin nothing for me because I want to as is. But no, my experience with him was great. But majority of everyone I know, they say that, hey, when you meet such and such a person, is their asshole. Actually, segue, I'm not to put nobody out there, but he actually had an experience like that on his own with another Power Ranger that I'm a big fan of.
Dang.
Told me that bro was kind of So the day I went to go meet him myself, I kind of was hesitant on really getting too deep into a conversation with him. I was like, bro, my partner, my co-host, my brother just said you're an asshole, but he thinks that way about a few people, but I'm just gonna keep it short. You feel me? And some people are like that. I think it's just doing it for so long and having to deal with so many people, then you put on the schedule. I think that's what gets most of them irritated. But you do have those people who is on their high horse though, and it's like, bro.
They also say that's an LA cultural thing, you know what I'm saying? Like California in general, they call us assholes. I mean, the Bay Area ain't really too much better, you know what I'm saying? So like, it comes with a grain of salt. I mean, grain of salt, man. Like, you gotta be cautious about who you approach, because it's always about what part of these areas are you from. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't sum up LA as a whole and think that everybody has the same personality type. You got Hollywood people, you got, you know what I mean, Crenshaw people, you got, you know what I mean, Cali in general is a melting pot. So you're going to meet multiple different personality types. You know what I'm saying? So moving past that, I would like to ask you, what are the influences that you got from the book? I've actually done my research, and one of the things you said out loud was that you got some of your inspiration from Harry Potter,
mm-hmm.
and the other one being Percy Jackson, which we don't necessarily have to segue, but
it just dropped yesterday.
Just came out with a new show.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was good. We watched the first 2 episodes. Is it showing right now? Or is it not showing?
It's
I think the first 2 episodes just dropped.
Okay,
I think it just dropped yesterday.
But yeah, so
on Disney Plus.
It was good. You know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about Percy Jackson and Harry Potter? And tell me, how did those influence your book and your writing, doing these characters in this story?
So it's like generally the same like premise, like on the surface, where the idea is that the first book is the camp experience. So that's very similar to Percy Jackson, which people are now experiencing now with the show. And then the idea is that the goal at the end of the book is to get to Hogwarts. So the second book in the series is more like the Harry Potter, you know, where he gets to go to like magic school and stuff like that. But the influence mostly was just that basis, so people have that familiarity, because you kind of need that when you're writing something to market and like a commercial piece, is that you need something that's familiar but like has a twist on it or like has a spin on it. And I knew that most people don't know like what the Orishas are, or like, you know, what they're about. So I knew that would be a really good way of doing it, in the same way that Percy Jackson showed a lot of people in a very fun way how to learn about the Greek gods. I wanted to implement for this one.
Okay, that's dope. So I noticed that you said that for Harry Potter, you didn't really use them for the magic substance of what they do in Harry Potter, but the influence of how the friendship dynamics work in that story. So
yeah, I mean, it's similar in that there's like a trio, you know, but that's like very common. I mean, even Percy Jackson has a trio. That's a normal friend group kind of thing you see in most narratives. But I kind of wanted the Draco, because Ayodeji, the Nigerian, is basically like the Draco of the story, right? He's like the asshole rich kid. And I wanted to see, well, what would happen if Draco actually became, well, I don't want to spoil the book. Like how much of the book are we spoiling? Are we in spoiler territory?
I mean, this is your book, brother. This is your book. So if you want to do a whole spot, we got notes. So if you want to talk about it,
I would say we should go into it. So at this point, I'd be like, all right, you guys heard the premise of the book. If you want to read it, go read it.
You know what I'm saying? And then they can read this, and they can read the other book. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
I haven't gotten a chance to read it, so get me enthusiastic about it.
Well, I mean, the idea is that like what happens if like the Draco Malfoy actually becomes like part of the friend group, and how does that even happen? Like, what do you have to do to get like, you know, that type of a character to be okay with you? And then also in turn, how does the main character like be okay with that character as well? But yeah, I mean, the dynamic, I just liked the idea of having that there, and also I wanted to represent, as I already mentioned, different aspects of Black people, because a lot of times people think it's just a monolith of Black people, but they're like each individual Black person is like different within the segment of Black people. So I wanted TJ to be the African American of the group. I wanted Manny to be the Afro Latina, and then I wanted the Nigerian Ayodeji to be like representative of that. So each person in the group represents like a subset, and also like the types of personalities. Like Manny's like a very sporty girl. TJ's a nerdy kid, and Ayodeji being like the rich, really into fashion kind of guy. Also, like I had some commentary because I actually got the piece of commentary of certain Nigerians emulating Black American culture, which is a separate thing. Like people don't really realize that sometimes, that it's like, you know, like, oh, you guys are all Black, right? It's like, no, African's a little bit different from like the Caribbean versus like, you know, someone who's from the States. And in reading one of the books from one of those authors I mentioned earlier, Nnedi Okorafor, Akata, which is, people call that a Nigerian Harry Potter as well, but it's also like very different, although they do have like this magic system where they have a dagger, which is like the wand chooses you, but like the dagger chooses you kind of a thing. And she had some commentary about that. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll use that commentary because I think TJ makes note of that like Io seems to be like trying too much to put on like a black persona sort of thing, or what he perceives to be a black persona, versus TJ, who's like, I'm just myself. Like, and that's where me and TJ kind of relate, is that I never really do a lot of code switching. Like, I remember once one of my friends said, like, you sound white, but you say black things. And I'm like, I mean, like, okay, like whatever that, you know, but like, I've never tried to like switch with certain groups. I mean, you do it naturally, like a little bit, but wait, what?
Somebody told me what you just said the opposite way. Like, I talk hella black, I get American ghetto black, but what I say be white stuff. Like, bro, you talking white stuff. Like, but I sound like a nigga. I'll be like, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I had that. And also the magic system. I remember you mentioning like the Harry Potter stuff, and like the magic system in this is very much tied to nature and to the Orishas. And the Orishas aren't gods. So whenever you hear the term god, it's more about things that rule over something. The Orishas are that element. So if you're talking about Oya, who is the wind weaver, she is the wind, she is the storm, she is thunder. Shango, he is lightning. You know, it's not a case of it being like even Eshu, who is the main like deity in this book. He isn't necessarily someone who is overwatching or controlling a segment. He is calamity. He is, you know, chaos. And he does that in a way to teach humanity how to like pick themselves up on their own bootstraps. And I like that aspect of it. I spent like 3 chapters just talking about like the magic system, like when they first go to the camp, and each like teacher that teaches it, like, you know, how you have to have your body right. You know, you have to have like, you have to be physically sound to use this magic system. The wisdom of it, you had to have that as well, and of course the spirit. So I enjoyed that. Again, having something familiar so people can kind of understand what they're getting into, but then having those twists in there so that you're learning something new.
Okay. Millers, would you like to talk about how'd you feel about the book, highlights, or anything like that you want to add? Because I can keep talking, but I just want to make sure I'm being fair to everybody else.
Okay. Manny Martinez is my favorite character, so I appreciate her.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite too. Like, most definitely.
I like her feistiness with them, but I didn't finish, so I was like, oh, keep going. Yeah,
okay, yeah. See, you should have said that. You should right away be like, "Hey, I'm on page blah blah blah."
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Wait, where?
I already told her. I was like, "Hey, this happened," and I didn't tell her everything, but I gave her a little. I said, "Hey, this, and that." But yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know, Manny, so you're pretty at least like halfway into it. Like, what was the last scene that you just got into?
I'm to where he has his sisters or brothers. My bad. His older siblings staff, because I'm just like
sister.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, sister. Yeah, she is the Harry Potter. Like, his sister's the Harry Potter. He's Neville Longbottom, basically.
That's how I write the notes. Like, as I was taking notes, all Harry Potter coded. But I'm to where Manny has like a whispering tree, and she him into it. Because I'm like, is this like the room in Harry Potter where it becomes what they need? That's what.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Like the room.
No, that was more Pocahontas. That was more like
the Mother Willow tree.
Yeah, I just did a little interview with Pocahontas, the voice of Pocahontas. So that was
okay. I was like, oh, she's been dead for a minute.
That's hilarious.
Spirit realm, right? He embodied his inner avatar and went to the spirit realm.
I know, exactly. But yeah, the grandmother Willow was what the idea of that came from, or the vibe that I was trying to get with that one. Especially, I think the grandmother Willow. I think she even had the thing where she like covers them with like the willow of John Smith and Pocahontas. You know, but yeah, I like that you brought that up about like her being feisty. I think there's actually a part in that scene where TJ is like being deferential to her, like trying to just be like agreeing to her everything that she's saying, and she's like, don't do that, like if you want to be friends, like you got to be real with me, which I thought was a really good aspect of her, because Oya is her Orisha, and Oya is known to be a very feisty, like she's a warlike Orisha. So he sees most of the nice side of her, but there's a element in book 2 in particular where he gets her pissed off, and you see a little bit of what Mandy's like when she's pissed off.
I'm happy for my mans. At the end of the book, my boy showed up, and I ain't gonna talk about it right now because we early talking about it. But he finally, you know what I mean, got pulled up by his bootstraps. But speaking about the similarities with Harry Potter, when he was, you did my boy dirty. Okay, we gotta talk about that.
TJ or Aya?
TJ specifically. Oh. You made this man seem so retarded. Just had to go. He couldn't do nothing right.
Oh,
he couldn't do nothing. He had to go to a remedial school.
Yeah.
And in the remedial school, he struggled in the remedial school. Like, you can just go ahead and start with the first graders. I'm like, damn.
Yep. Yeah. But that's something huge for me because I don't like when series have like that power creep where someone just like gets thrown into something and they're like, oh, you're great now because the plot demands you to be good. I was like, nah, I'm going to make him suck for a while so that when he does at the end, you know, has his triumph moment, you know, then it's actually earned versus it being like he just pulled out of his, you know, pulled out of his butt and then it just happened.
Right. Shout out to this teacher though for being patient and being like, I'll give you private study lessons because he was like, oh, you read my mind. He was too proud to ask. So that was dope. But the similarities I want to bring up was just like in Harry Potter, when he's trying to figure out which house he belongs to, he puts on the hat.
Yeah, which Orisha.
Exactly. For the which Orisha, like in which school he was gonna go to, it was like very cool how they was all sitting in the house and his mom and all of them was like, oh, so is he gonna get accepted to the best school? And it kind of reminded me of Harry Potter, but it was hilarious at the same time because Pops didn't want him to go. Pops was like, oh, you know, you get him next time. It's all right, son. You did your best. And Mom's was like,
he doesn't want to because his daughter just died at that magical school.
Exactly.
And it's like, yo, I don't know if I really want my son. Like, probably, but then the thing with the mom, and that's something that eventually deeper in the series that they get into that, is that she's very proud of being magical. And it's also been kind of like a stain on her resume that she married a non-magical person because her entire family usually just dates within the magic. And these are themes that are coming up later on in the series. But I try to see them.
No, they touched on it. You touched on it in this book.
Yeah, it's seeded, but it's not like
blatantly
full force, like, you know, how that will show up. But definitely wanted to see that because that will come up later.
Okay, good. Say, which character do each of you resonate with the most? Oh, that's a good question. Appreciate you, Dom. Dom is also working on our Tapping No Capping intro, so shout out to her and her music. She's an artist.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, follow her. But as we was talking about, as far as what she brought up, my favorite character, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm a sucker for a good dad. I like the dad the most.
Dude, the dad's cool.
He's my favorite character because he's so supportive. Like, he is so supportive. Like, we don't really get to see that in a lot of Black fandoms or stories in general.
I actually wrote this before Spider-Verse came out. And when Spider-Verse came out and I saw Miles' dad, and I was like, yo, that's exactly like if, I didn't mention this. I'm so bad at doing this. So TJ right now is optioned for a movie. Like, there's a screenplay that exists. It's being shopped right now to, you know, the studios. And I actually mentioned that to like the producer. I was like, you know, Miles' dad, that's exactly like the vibe that we should have for like TJ's dad. Because I try to do that, like, in particular, is having it be a supportive, not just a supportive dad, but like a supportive Black family, like all around. Like, no, there's no like infighting or whatever like that. There's no like a big drama or like a baby mama situation. It's just like, no, it's just like there are functional Black families out there, which I based it a lot on the Nigerian family that introduced me to the Orishas and like who read the book and like helped me out along with that stuff. And they are a very like, they're a tight unit. It's a mom, dad, daughter, son. They're always in volleyball, like kids in football, always doing stuff together, you know. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted that, like, for sure.
Got you. You already told me who your favorite character was. Another scene I want to bring up as being similar to Harry Potter in my mind, and I'm also going to touch about the origins, like we talked about which house he got. Well, not house, but what Sharisha, what school he went to. There's so much I want to say. There's a lot of thoughts about this book, but when he runs into the big alligator.
Oh yeah, Osale.
Yeah.
Osale.
And it stares at him, and they go, "Oh, he does the never takes to anybody like that." That reminded me a lot of when everybody was finding out there's something different about Harry when he was able to speak to the snake, like the giant snake and whatnot. And so I was like, "Oh, this is really cool," you know. And I was imagining how this looked. I was looking on your Facebook and I was looking on your Instagram to see what the alligator looked like, because the way they described it was like it was really huge, you know what I'm saying, like ridiculous. I'm like, oh man, I wonder what it looks like. But yeah, man, that was really cool. That was really cool. I like that scene. And being an Avatar fan, we gonna get deeper into that after we get done talking about the book. But being an Avatar fan, I feel like a lot of this character is styled after Zuko. And the reason why I feel that way is because
TJ being Zuko? Like, because he's trying to like find his honor or like the honor of his sister, you know?
That, but also because you know how Zuko starts off and he's not good at firebending. You know, he sucks. His sister is the prodigy, just like TJ and his sister. She's the prodigy. He's the one that sucks. And then, you know, the pops Ozai was like, hey, you know, your sister is the lucky one. You were just lucky to be born. In the beginning of the book, TJ is nickname is Luck, but for the wrong reasons. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's lucky to get picked. So I was like, I wonder if this is an Avatar reference.
That wasn't at all. But that was a cool connection. You're the first person to make that connection. But yeah, I could totally see that one fitting for sure. I like you brought up the fact that he's a lucky charm because, again, like I said, I wanted to have a Hufflepuff protagonist. I wanted to have a different protagonist. I didn't want just like the He-Man who's just, I'm just gonna bull rush through everything. I wanted him to have a ability that was about boosting others. Like that was like a huge component for me. Like I was like, I want to make sure that his ability is like not, you know, the typical hero's ability. I wanted it to be like a very supportive sort of thing in the same way that TJ is as a character.
Okay. Mealers, would you like to chime in? Like I said, I can keep going.
Oh, I just have little points. Like I like how you call the non-magical people clouded, and I'm just like, okay, Muggle in my notes. Like I like those little moments.
Yeah, I got help from I think Trey, my buddy Trey helped with that one. I think I was like, guys, I keep calling it Monday. Is the word? You know, that's very funny you say that because I remember there was a scene where, oh my god, it's the one where TJ and Io get in a fight, and oh man, there's a specific line. Yeah, there's a specific line he says in there that I ended up just have him say man instead. Because again, you know, being commercial and stuff like that, you know, you want to like, so certain things you just can't have. Like if this was realistic, the kids would be cursing way more. Like I try to get the impression that they curse
from LA
with like minor curses, so I have them say like shit and ass and damn stuff like that, but like no fucks and no like major curses. But I wanted to give the impression that the teens were actually speaking like teens. And that was one particular. I remember that scene in particular. I actually wrote that in my first draft, and I was like, damn it. I'm trying to make this commercial, and I even asked one of my buddies. I was like, "Dang, what can I put here instead?" And he's like, "I don't know, like just have him say man." And I was like, "All right." But that specific scene is where that actually came up.
So he may not have said nigga in the book, but it was a nigga moment.
Yes. And that actually was a nigga moment, like for real, like straight up in the Boondocks. It was kind of like he stepped on your sneakers kind of thing. Nice. What are you gonna do about it? I mean, granted, he talked about his sister, so at that point, like you gotta throw hands.
Oh yeah, he saw. You literally wrote in the book all he wanted was blood, and I'm like, TJ, turn up. Show me from LA. TJ.
I know. For you, you're like, finally, you're doing something, TJ.
Facts, because bro, he was getting bullied throughout the whole book, and it was hurting my heart. Like it was hurt, like from everybody. He never felt comfortable, like not in his household.
Even that little kid, the one who did like the water gun fingers or whatever, and he thought he was making him feel better because the father was like, "Oh, thanks for making my kid feel better." He's like, "Yeah, sure," like
right,
not because I actually suck.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm just like, and then even when he did do something that was relatively cool, everybody like oversaw it, like you know what I'm saying?
Like even that first scene with the basketball, right, where he's the one who set up that play so that kid would be open for the 3-pointer.
Exactly.
But no one really acknowledged that. You know, they're like, what? No, hockey assists don't matter in basketball.
Right. So I'm glad we talked about that. I want to talk about how Black this book is. So for a lot of people who are looking for Black literature, this is amazing. There's a lot of slang that's being used in here, and not like for the Rebellion 5, which is the, you know what I mean, they're a little bit more of the raunchy type, you know what I'm saying? They ghetto and whatnot. We love them. That's our brotherhood, you know what I'm saying? We mess with them. They was also at LA Con. They had a booth.
We're the Rebellion 5. I'm not familiar with them.
They're a podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'll send it to you after this. But the Rebellion 5, which they get really upset when they take Black characters and they do like really Sambo type stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Like writing them as these clowns, or they just talking in weird ways, like it wasn't written by a Black person. But I feel like in your book, the words, the way that the slang, the different cultures, like whether it be African or New Orleans or, you know, California, like you definitely get that feel of, okay, you're really giving me that vibe from this particular culture, and the same thing vice versa for like, you know, the slang and the twang that other people was using. So as far as this being like authentically Black, it was very enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? So I feel
that was extremely intentional. Intentional. Because prior to this, I was writing like a more grown up fantasy, like more like Game of Thrones sort of a vibe, and I had to like write in this archaic way. I had like this different editor who was like, you can't write that because it's like, you know, this takes place in like, you know, the old times or whatever. So like it was actually a breath of fresh air to do this one because it was so contemporary and so like in my own natural voice versus it being like a fabricated voice that I like kind of put on.
Okay. So past just because I told you I do research. past the just the slang, what else did you make intentional? Because we talked about the dashikis. We also want to talk about how the hair specifically was very intentional in this book, and how you told me that, well, you didn't tell me, but I did my research, that you talked about how the person that you had draw actually had a hard time drawing the specific hairstyles that you wanted for the characters.
Oh yeah, I think Manny was hard for him for a minute.
That's how important it was.
Yeah, I think Manny had a few drafts because I think the first draft of Manny was like straighter hair, and I was like, no, let's put snaps in there. And he didn't really understand that at first, so I had to like explain it, or I actually had to get like several like reference photos and things like that. But he's much better now. Like as you can see, like the stuff he did with Ayo, I don't think he would have done that in book one. You know, like he's actually progressed because he's been able to do that. But yeah, that was intentional. I think I mentioned her having like Dutch braids because she just came back from like a game. Like if you're on a game, you're not going to be having your hair out. What else like was intentional in there? You talk about the dashikis, of course. The staffs and all the masks were all related to something within the Ifa culture. Which, by the way, this is all based on Ifa, which is like the actual. I don't want to say mythology because it is a living practice. Like people actually do, like, you know, pray to Shango or pray to Eshu and all that. But it is the faith system that a lot of this is based on. What else was intentional? I can't think of like at the top of my head. I had to like read the book and be like, oh yeah, I did that on purpose.
But I wanted to know, I didn't even see you draw this. Mm-hmm. I want to say, what are they called? The diviners? What the diviners? Yeah. Some of them, you described them at the funeral with really specific masks.
Yeah, they were always associated with one of the Orishas. So I think one was associated with Arumila, who is the divination Orisha, the ones of the stars and the cosmos. So yeah, I would describe specifically what that mask looked like. Eshu's mask has a very like distinct look. So yeah, I made sure I did a year of research. Specifically this book called, which I should probably grab, I don't have it here with me, called, I think it's just the history of the Yoruba people. And I did a bunch of research on like the Orisha books. But granted, I say this very specifically at the beginning of the book. This is not an accurate depiction of like the actual living practice of it. It's a fantasy version of it. So while the base of it is correct, like, you know, the fact that Oya is the Orisha of storms and she's, you know, kind of a hothead and that sort of thing. Same with other, like Eshu the trickster. Their actual stories and like the personalities that show up here are a fantasy. They're a fabrication. In the same way that, you know, if you watch Percy Jackson or read Percy Jackson, those aren't like the original. It's like a Disney Hercules. Like that's not the original version of Hercules. You know what I mean? Like Hercules was different in the actual mythology, the original version of the Roman mythology of it. But yeah, like I can't think of specific stuff right now except for like stuff you brought up. Like, you know, the dashiki was very intentional. I gave them like dashiki tank tops too, because I was like, oh, if they're going to be working out, like how would you do that? A lot of the staffs were very much based on real staffs that I like saw during my research. But yeah, I don't know. Like you have to like specifically like point stuff out and I'd be like, yeah, that was intentional or not, you know.
Would this translate to a comic well?
I don't know. The storyline's so expansive. I mean, it's very visual, that's for sure. Like if you think about like the Ayo and TJ fight, like that would look awesome as a comic, right? But I think it's just so big. And me, I'm just thinking about it more practically because I'm thinking about the expense of it. Because I already did a comic book just based on one chapter of one of my books, and that was like I want to say it was like nearly $3,000. So I can't even imagine like doing an entire like adapting of a book for it. But there are some other stories that I've written, like the Kishi, which is the first book that I came out with. That one actually is in early talks right now to be turned into a black anime. So hopefully, like I just got the what they call it, the pitch deck from the director a week ago. And he's pitching it to some studios that like are like noteworthy. So that would be cool. Like that one definitely is comic related. This one could, but it'd just be a lot more difficult, I think, to do it.
So before I go into Dom's question, another relation that I saw with Percy Jackson in the book, he does this move, this spell where he conjures all this water, and then they came up with the conclusion that he's related to the Orisha of water, right? Mm-hmm. So that to me also was relative to, you know, Percy Jackson, his father being what's his name? Poseidon. You know what I'm saying? Was that also influenced or no?
Not necessarily, because it's different. It's a different relation, because the way the Orishas work is different from the way that the Greek gods work. Like there's no like the Orishas don't just come down and like start like, you know, impregnating human women and stuff like that. Like that doesn't happen in this mythology. It's more of things happening in their own realm and how that affects. Like for instance, there's a story about Shango, who is the deity of lightning, and then Oya, who is the deity of thunder, of her being mad that he stepped out of their marriage and they were like chasing each other, and because of that chase happening, that's when like some, you know, storm came and like flooded the lands. That's the kind of vibe that happens with him. But yeah, there is some stuff going on with TJ though. I'm glad that you're cluing in on the weirdness and the specialty of TJ, because that is basically like the entire plot of the series, the overarching series. In the same way you mentioned like the Harry Potter stuff, there is a Horcrux situation kind of going on with TJ. I mean, I think I've made impressions of that a little bit because, you know, the idea of his sister's spirit, like being somewhat attached to him, or what is it going on with his sister? Like that's unraveling slowly, which is very fun. At the end of book 3 in particular, the one I'm writing right now, there's a huge reveal about like what's going on with his sister and where she's at, what is she doing? Because even when he goes to the underwater realm in book 1, when he's talking with Yewa, Yewa's like, yeah, I've never seen your sister's spirit pass through here. So it's like, wait, what? Like, and Yewa is the Orisha who like transports people from the living world to the to the death realm. And she basically says, yeah, I don't know anything about your sister, like kind of thing. So like setting that up, being like, hey, there's something going on, you know. But I'm really excited for how the series is going to turn, because it is going to be a 6-book series.
I hear a plot twist.
Yeah, so that the first trilogy is definitely like a specific thing, and then at the end of book 3, it's going to there's going to be a big turn, like the way that the book's going to be written, like the circumstances, stuff like that. Like I'm actually really, really excited for one, to see what the reader's reaction is going to be, and also how I'm going to even do it, because I think, you know, you're onto something when you're kind of afraid of going there. You know, when you're like, oh man, how am I going to even do that? You know, those are the best moments, and I'm really, really excited to get to that point. Very frightened about like what I'm gonna do with it, but really excited for the second part of the series.
Okay. So speaking about you writing, Dom wants to know, how long did it take for you to write and publish your book?
Oh, you actually can track this if you go to my Instagram. I always put up my like word counts and stuff like that. I'm gonna do that right now, and I'll tell you exactly how long it took me, because I have it cataloged on my Instagram.
Okay.
Hold on, let me find it. Which might
while you're looking for it, I'm gonna just go through some of these other comments. All Black is asking, did you write it having a complete vision and make the series at different points regardless of books, or did you do it chronological, go through and think out each book alone?
Oh, I see. Like did I plan out the entire series? Yes, but not in the sense that like I know exactly what's gonna happen. Like even the movie producers who are talking to me now, they're like, so what's gonna happen, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, this is what might happen, but things always change. Like even when you write a singular book, like when I wrote the first book, the ending twist that I know I'm not gonna ruin it for you, but like Vakan, you know, that did not exist in the first
That's not draft. A shot, Movers. That's not a shot.
Yeah, no, not a shot at all. No, for real. I did not, that ending that happened with one of the twists, the other twist was always supposed to happen, but the other twist didn't exist, like in the first round. But I knew something needed to happen in that area, in the same way that I know how the final book ends.
You trying to cause a war?
But I don't
bring it back up.
But I don't know until I get there, because even like it's kind of like when you do like a freestyle, when you're kind of riffing, you kind of know what you want to do, you know what your punchline might be or whatever, but once you go through it and you go through that journey, you're like, oh wait, but this character showed up and I kind of want to see where that's going to go, or that character, you know. So I try to keep things structured but loose at the same time, but I'm definitely more structured than I am loose. I would say that, though. Like, a lot of things are planned out. So my first writing of this book seemed like it was on July 6, 2019, and then the book came out in 2020 Juneteenth 2020. So it was like a little over a year. Well, not really, because it was probably a little bit under a year, because, you know, I obviously have to do the production for like the audiobook and like get the pre-orders set out and stuff like that. So I would say a little under a year for that book one.
Oh, that's amazing, because a lot of people, it takes them way longer.
Yeah, and I'm actually slow. Like, if you actually like involve yourself with a lot of indie authors, like some of them be writing like a book a month, like the romance authors and stuff like that. I'm like, I can't do that. I'll do my 1 to 2 books a year, and I'm cool with that, and I'll feel accomplished with that. But I cannot do 4, 5, 6 books a year.
That's crazy. Yeah. And I see you like to, you know, go out and be out in nature when you go on vacation. That'll take away from your leisure time. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Kaori. She's also a writer. She's the one that you met at LA Comic-Con. She's also a writer. She has a book coming out, and, you know what I mean, this would be a perfect conversation for her to have with you. But, you know, just shout out to her. And,
hey,
you know,
if she's doing audio, let me know. Would love to do some audio with her if she's planning on doing that.
Word? Okay.
Yeah, for real. Like, I always talk about audio with anybody I hear that's making a book.
Okay, for sure. I'll definitely link her up and tell her about that network.
Yeah, I pride myself on audio, because it's beyond just like the performance of Nakia, but like, you know, like you heard it, like all the effects that are in there. Like Sally, she's telepathic, so she has like this, like, you know, voice thing going on. So it's always fun.
Okay, so controversial question. Was your MC main character beat Harry Potter's ass if he stepped in his shoes?
Book one version of TJ? Well, it depends. It depends on what we're like. If we're saying book one in TJ versus book one Harry.
Oh yeah.
Harry doesn't do that much in Sorcerer's Stone, actually. And also I would say that the magic in Harry Potter might be a little bit slower, because the magic in TJ is tied directly to like an Orisha, and like you're kind of like sapping from like an Orisha's magic. You'll be able to use it a little bit faster. But I think it might be a better setup to say like which trio would be better, because of course TJ can't really fight on his own. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he can do a little bit, but like not enough. Like, but if it's him, Manny, and Ayo, they're putting in work. Even though they got Hermione on their side.
That's not enough.
It's not enough with the way TJ's powers work. Now, one-on-one, TJ is not a very good one-on-one fighter, which comes up a lot in book 2 in particular. There's more times where he ends up in more one-on-one situations, and you see some of the limitations and how people start fighting against him, which I think is very fun. That was a good idea that my editor came up with. He's like, hey, there should always be some sort of like stepping stone, like people start adapting, like in the same way that, like, you know, like let's take the NBA for example. Steph Curry starts throwing up threes, right? And like, you know, what the rest of the league does, they all start doing the same thing. So like your trick can only happen for so long until people start figuring it out. So what we did in the book 2 is that we had people start figuring out TJ's ability and like start acting that, and then having TJ having to step up his game, and, you know, it becomes
TJ like, does that at the end of the book too, though. Right. I can't say what it is.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but that's all intentional. Like, I'm very much into the idea of power scaling and also power balancing, and not just being like, I don't like the idea of just being like, you know, you just go Super Saiyan and then you're just awesome. You know, there's got to be steps to it. And it's got to be thought out. I'm more of like a Full Metal Alchemist magic person than I am like, you know, Dragon Ball Z.
Okay. We love Full Metal Alchemist over here.
That is my favorite.
All of us, all three of us.
Their magic in particular, and the story too. The story is freaking the heart in that show is really good.
All right, so I don't know if you want me to. I was going to try to screen share some of the artwork. I don't know if
that's okay. Yeah, all art is okay to share.
Let me do that for you one time.
But I really like that scene. What did you think of the scene with Manny in the lunchroom? The one where TJ was trying to like show off his Spanish in a very awkward way.
Oh, hold on, I'm multitasking. My friends know I'm the worst multitasker ever.
Well, you went through my old Instagram post, or just Facebook as well, yeah.
Yep. I am an old head. I am more of a Facebook user than I am Instagram.
No, I'm still on Facebook too. I'm still very much on Facebook.
So I also I don't want to disregard your question, but going into that scene, I just thought it was I felt as though TJ's like, hey, I'm at a new school, I get to reinvent myself. Let me go ahead and try to do a little something, and it didn't necessarily work in his favor. But I like it. Because I was like, that's probably something I would do. You know what I'm saying? So. I like a lot of the scenes. There's a lot of comical scenes, and I don't think we talked about that. There's a lot of comedy in this series. It's a lot of comedy in this series, and there's a lot of funny moments. There's a lot of, like I said, when the dad was like, "Oh, it's okay, son," and the mom was looking at him, and you wrote,
he needs to shut all the way up.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Needs to shut all the way up. You know what I mean? So it was that type.
Like the mom's looks basically said, hey, "You need to shut all the way up right now. I'm trying to get this boy into this camp."
Yeah, the language and all that stuff was just like, it made me and Mealers, when we was listening to the book, was laughing, having a good time. So definitely, I did like that scene. So I'll talk about some of these artworks. Can you tell us about like some of these inspirations, some of these characters?
Yeah, so I remember that my friend, the Nigerian friend, he had shown me this picture, and I was like, "Oh, that looks like Ayo, like the kind of like the fashionable Nigerian," because that is like a thing in Nigeria. I mean, that's a thing anywhere really, but there is like that fashionable dude that's always just like there. And so I wanted Ayo to be that, like the designer's glasses. He's always got his hair down. He's got his lineup on, designer polo, stuff like that, like everything. So that's he was a very generic inspiration, because again, like I said, Nigeria is like. And Nigerian culture is probably my least strongest suit. So I try to like stay away from it as much as possible.
Okay. Just so y'all looking, these are.
Oh, that was I still got to finish that one. The Sky Pirate one.
Oh, okay. You still got to finish it. All right.
Well, no, that previous one you showed. Oh, no, that.
Oh, go back.
That was legit. Okay. The 2 slides ago, yeah, you showed that, and I was like, oh man, you're showing that I didn't finish one of my series. That was a fun one.
Yeah, this was fire. It's a fire look right here. Yeah. I didn't know what it was, but I was
that's like, the finale to it, and I just haven't finished it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, that's because TJ got so popular, and the freaking movie people came to me, and I was like, oh, I have to shift focus.
So what is that like? Did that kind of take away from your spark?
Yeah, it did. From my other projects, it did. Not from my spark, but just it took away from other projects. I had to prioritize the one that was like popping at the time,
Got you.
But yeah, the inspiration for Mr. Balawe, he is one of the camp counselors, one of the mentors to TJ, yes. And also a previous mentor to his sister, more importantly, and that's kind of like their connection point, is that he was almost like a father, like a Nigerian father to Dayo, his sister, in the book. And he's kind of seeing like the second chance that he can have with TJ. And I like the relationship a lot, especially the one that takes place. Have you guys been to Simply Wholesome before? Because I think y'all are LA natives, right?
I'm from Oakland.
Oh, you're from Oakland. Okay, so if you've never been to Simply Wholesome, you need to be there. Slauson and Overhill. You hear Janae Aiko talk about it in her songs 3 times. But it's one of the spots, and that's like where that scene happens in the middle of the book, which was really important to me. And the idea that, and that's another thing too. I had a commentary in the book about like the education system and having someone who doesn't fit the curriculum perfectly, right? Because you have like SATs, you have the ACT, and it's very specific and what it's trying to challenge you on, what it's testing you on. And some people just don't think that way, and not all intellect is built the same. And I was kind of doing the same thing for TJ, that not all magic is built the same. So they have this curriculum based on like, hey, who's your Orisha? Like, what school are you going to go into? Like, what elective you're going to have? It's like, well, I don't have an Orisha, or I'm not really like, something's wrong with me, kind of a thing. And like, I like that scene with Balawe in particular, where he's basically like, hey man, you might be something new, and I'm going to try and teach you in your specific way, to make sure you have your success. So that was a big thing too. And that's where a lot of the theming of Balawe was. But yeah, if we ever were to cast someone, that'd be the guy right there. That is absolutely Balawe.
Okay. I'm gonna go through a couple of more of these slides real quick. Let's see.
That's the big help. Negus Lamont, he was a big help.
Oh, you was talking about the staff. This is a close-up right here. Can you explain the art design right here?
Yeah, so that is a staff and an observance of Orunmila, and Orunmila is the divination Orisha, the one of cosmos and stars, which is what TJ's sister. When there was like a little bit about prophecy, very similar to Percy Jackson in the story, and a lot of that prophecy stems from this Orisha in particular.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's Dayo's best friend, Adayola. And Adayola is the name of the woman who introduced me to the Orishas, so I named her after.
Wow, I really love that all the characters that you're telling us about is influenced by somebody personal. That's dope.
Most times that's gonna be the case.
Okay.
Oh, she was cool. Voice of Oya. She came through. She actually was. She actually is a practitioner of Ifa, and she said that Oya is her Orisha. So that was really cool that she was able to do the vocals for that.
Okay.
Because each audiobook has a theme song based on an Orisha.
I didn't. Oh, here we go. So was this inspired?
Yeah, I mean, if I were to cast Adeola, I would want like a Willow Smith-like person to because she's very like spiritual kind of hippy dippy kind of a character.
Okay. I don't know if you saw this question. I said no, but he said Rebellion 5 wants to know, is there a slave in the book?
There is, but he's not mentioned. So here, I'll give you guys like a little behind the scenes. So
that's what we want to hear.
Monsieur, I'm not good at French at all. Monsieur Francois, the talking tree. So his backstory, which isn't brought up in the story, because I like to do that a lot, where I'll have a backstory for a character, but if it doesn't like relate to the story, like I put it in, like it's just like useless. But his backstory is that he became a tree because he was once a runaway slave who was a diviner, but maybe I'll do the story at one point. I think it's actually kind of interesting.
You did a prequel, so let's do it.
Yeah, a lot of the diviners during that time had their magic suppressed because they were away from the motherland. They were away from their culture, right? So a lot of the diviners that were captured didn't have a lot of magic a lot of the times. So he was a runaway slave, not realizing like one of his abilities was that he could shapeshift. And he was able to get away by shapeshifting into a tree, and he became the talking tree that you are introduced to in the book. But prior to that, he has his whole life, prior to that. But because his magic was untrained, he's actually stuck as a tree now. So he's a tree man for the rest of his life. But he gets to live the life of a tree, which is why he is actually 400 years old. But again, these are all things that just didn't come up in there. So technically, yes, there is a slave in it, but not in, I think, the way that they were asking. Like, are there slaves or something? No.
That's kind of funny that you bring that up, because now that I'm switching over to my guy, one of the best actors to ever voice act and done, it's kind of funny you bring that up, because when he did help me out, everybody should know this. It's what the fairy tales? No, what is it called?
Once Upon a Time.
Thank you, Miller. Yes, 4,000 points. So when he did Once Upon a Time, he played the mirror. Yeah. And so that kind of like correlates to what you're talking about as well. And it kind of reminds me of I think it's Norse mythology, Mimir, because that's kind of like what happened to Mimir. Mm-hmm. So
actually that's funny you mentioned that too, because this TJ is actually part of a larger author collective. So I don't talk like how I mentioned before, how like Thor and Shango have like a little adventure together in one of my stories. There is another one that just came out. I mentioned this to you at Comic-Con, the one that the Mesoamerican one that had just come out like a week before y'all were there. There's stuff happening all over the place. So there's like the Mesoamerican stuff going on. There's a Norse mythology one that's coming out next year. There's a Celtic one that we have going on, and they're all going to meet up in like a very like Avengers. Well, it's actually the first one's going to be a tournament arc. So you guys know about that as being anime friends. You know that there's like the tournament arc is like a trope of like the first time like everybody meets. So we're going to have that. Eventually, they're all going to go to like these junior magical Olympics and like meet each other. But yeah, this is happening in the tapestry. Like everything exists. So like Norse mythology exists, the Orisha mythology, all the Mesoamerican, the Greeks, the Romans, all that stuff like exists. Hindi, the yokai from Japan, like all of it exists.
Okay. Do you want to talk about this inspiration?
Oh, you mean Giancarlo? He's just awesome. Yeah. Like
that's real short and quick.
What could I say? Like he's actually probably the one who is the most one-to-one that is in the book. Like in terms of like that character is exactly just Giancarlo. Like straight up.
Okay, that's dope. Shout out to him, man. Can't give him enough flowers. What else?
Oh, that guy did the voice for Shango and Eshu.
This guy, right?
Nigerian, vocalist. Super dope guy.
Okay. Oh, all right. I think we can stop here. I don't want to just keep sliding and sliding. Well, yeah, man. Okay. Well, that pretty much sums up how much we love the book. We don't gonna give up too much spoilers. We still want you here for a little while, but you know what I'm saying, we want to give up too many spoilers. Is there anything that you want to ask the audience, or not even ask the audience, but like give to the audience for them to be like inspired to read your book? What is something, if you was to sell this book to the audience, what would you want them to know about the book?
Well, it's very much, it's designed specifically for a young adult audience. So if you like to read young adult still, or you have someone in your life who you think will be interested in it, particularly if they have an interest in Harry Potter and Percy Jackson, this is right up their alley. You're going to get a very different character, as you've heard me speak of before. It's not like the typical heroic type. You're going to get a different kind of protagonist in this one. And also the magic system is going to be a little bit different. You can learn a little bit, especially if you're Black in particular, you can learn a little bit about the Orishas. Again, not the factual part of the faith system, but a fantasy version of it. So yeah, like if you're really into adventure, it is a little bit long, I will say though. Like I think it's definitely designed for like people who are into like long fantasy books. So if that's not your cup of tea, like I got other books that you can look into that are a little bit shorter. But other than that, like, yeah, I think it's a really fun story. Like you said, like the trio, the funny times, the kid. We didn't really talk about Josh at all this entire stream, but Josh is freaking. That kid is hilarious. And I remember Nakia in particular was really attached to him in her performance within the audiobook. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, well, I said I'll spoil stuff, but like, something goes on with Josh, and he was very sad when that thing happened with Josh.
Gotcha. All right. I have no
during your writing process, do you summarize your idea for a story, or do you create your characters first? A little bit of both. Like sometimes I for example, like when TJ got to the camp, I didn't really know like a lot of the characters who were gonna exist in that space. I kind of just like brought them up as they came in. Not Manny and Ayo. Manny and Ayo were like kind of always there, but like kids like like Josh, I think was actually kind of newer. Like Josh did not exist in the first draft. Or I write weird, so I don't write complete drafts. I don't write from beginning to end and go like, all right, now let me rewrite it. I write in something called sequences, so I write episodically. So and I feel like my readers can kind of feel that, because they can kind of feel, oh, these 3 chapters felt like a thing, and then I can like stop, and the next 5 chapters are like its own sub story. So when I write in these sequences, I actually get feedback on that sequence and then continue writing. Then I'm like, all right, here are the 2 sequences, get feedback and then continue writing, versus it being like oh, here's the entire book and then give me feedback, because I can't write that way. I've done that in the past and I just mess myself up. And it's a lot harder to fix something when it's like 200,000 words versus if it's just like a 10,000 word, piece. So yeah.
Okay.
I have a weird process.
All right. So speaking about process, Avatar is in the making.
What in the world? Why do you have that bootleg?
Hey, listen.
We got actual photos of Gordon Cormier as Aang now.
Hey, listen. This is why Jew is the art man, okay?
We have content. Why did you put that picture up? There are photos and trailers.
There's real footage now.
What up, blasphemousness? Oh, Lord.
Listen, that's all that matters. It was Avatar, it is Netflix. And we talking about the live action. So with that being said,
oh my God,
Mr. Antoine, you are what I would call a Avatar enthusiast.
Yeah, I definitely am an enthusiast for sure.
How do you feel? I mean, I've been watching all your videos. What are your, I guess, predictions for this live action?
How much time do we have? There's a lot of hills and valleys to this process.
My time is your time. Well, this is all about you today.
Okay. So when it first was announced, and this was back in I think 2018, maybe 17, They were like, Netflix is gonna, make a live action. And I was like, why? Why do we need a live action of the series? Why can't, especially in particular because they announced that the original creators were going to be involved this time. And when I heard that, I was like, no, can you guys like do something new? Can you like do the next series or something, like more animation? Why are we going back? Why are we taking these steps back? And that was like my thoughts for like the next 4 years until it got announced. I think it was in 2020 that the original creators were like, nah, we're not about this. They left. They straight up left the production. They were like, creative differences, whatever is up on that screen, that's not us. We don't endorse that. I was like, dang, like what happened where y'all had the original creators straight up just leave? And then I was already like, my expectations were like here. They were way in the dumps at that point. I was like, all right, cool. I'm writing off the series entirely. The creators are not involved. And then I heard that they were creating Avatar Studios, and I was like, oh, cool. So maybe that was the reason. Maybe part of it was that they were trying to go do what I was saying that they should be doing in the first place, was make more Avatar content, new stuff, like new animated stuff. And then there was a small turning point when we saw, I don't know if they dropped photos first or they dropped those teasers first. Or no, they started casting people. When I saw like Gordon Cormier, who's playing Aang, a new actor, I was like, oh, okay. Y'all trying to do this right. And then I saw like who they got for Katara and who they got for Zuko. Oh, and then they casted Paul Lee, which I don't know if y'all watched Kim's Convenience on Netflix, but it's a Canadian show. And that guy is Iroh, absolutely. So when they casted him, when they got freaking Daniel Day Kim as Ozai, I was like, okay. I wasn't like, oh, I'm ready for it yet. That didn't happen until very recently, like maybe like 2 weeks ago. But when stuff like that was coming out, I was like, oh, okay, they're being kind of serious. And then they dropped the first set photos, and then I got kind of like, oh my goodness, those costumes, they look a little bit too like cartoony. They look a little lame. They look like, someone like kind of slapped those together. And so I was kind of like, I don't know again. Like again, this whole journey was up and down.
Yeah, because I just saw your last video, and you was like, and you said the same thing. You was like, oh, it was cartoony, and I wasn't. But now it's like, nah, I'm excited. I'm actually.
Well, and the reason for that because the teaser dropped, and you got to see all this in live action, right? And I was like, oh, it's working a lot better because I think those set photos were like the perfectly lit, kind of set photos. They didn't have like the actual color correction in there and all that. So that first teaser came out, and I was like, "Oh, lame," because they just had like the logos, it was like the fire, ice, earth, air, just back and forth, and then you just went, like, "Oh, come on, that's not a teaser, guys! Like, what are you guys doing?" And then they dropped the actual, like, you got to see everything. They started off with Sozin's comment. You see the airbenders fighting the firebenders, and I'm like, "Look, they're actually gonna show that because that didn't happen in the show. That did not happen in the show,
right?
Yeah." Like you just hear that happened, like the airbender genocide happened, but you didn't actually see the actual fight. And I was like, they're gonna show the fight, like that's dope. Then you see like everybody in their costumes. What really, really got me in particular was Suki in her Kyoshi makeup. Yo, the way they did that, I was like, I'm in. Like I am in. And then they had the theme come out when Aang was getting through the winning cloud, and then he was like pushing his arms out. And I admit, I got freaking teary-eyed at that point. And I was like, what? This was not supposed to happen? I was supposed to write you off. I was not about to be, like, excited for this stupid live-action thing. And at that point, from that moment, like, literally at the midpoint of that trailer, I was like, all right, I'm in. Like, I'm actually excited for this. Like, and now I'm on the other end of it, where I'm like, oh, no. Now, if it sucks, like, I'm going to be really, really sad. Because now I'm at the point of, like, before I was like, I don't care. I'm not going to like this. To, like, oh, my, this is going to be good. This could be great even. And then like it sucks, and then I'm gonna like be disappointed. But yeah, like I went through a whole back and forth with the live action adaptation. At the current time, I am excited and looking forward. Currently,
you might switch up again.
I might switch up again because the trailer. Because here's the other thing though, the teaser didn't show any actual acting. They only had a voiceover. So I'm like, are they trying to hide that maybe the kid actors are not like super great or whatever? So the next trailer, I expect there to be actual like dialogue. If they don't, then that's an extreme red flag. So when we get that, I'll have a better idea of like, okay, is this just gonna be like okay, or is this gonna be like legitimately good? Like that, the next trailer I think is gonna like really set the tone for that.
Got you. So speaking of, Don brought up a question, and basically, do you think that the original live movie was a flop or was it good?
You mean the M. Night Shyamalan one?
Huh?
The M. Night Shyamalan movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that one doesn't exist. What are you talking about?
No,
there is no
not
movie in Ba Sing Se.
the live action Avatar, like the Last Airbender. That movie.
How do you feel about the first? Yeah, the first live action. They're talking about the original movie. Yeah, we don't talk about that. It doesn't.
We don't talk about. Oh yeah, that doesn't exist.
It doesn't. No, there is no movie in Ba Sing Se. There is no movie in Ba Sing Se.
Got you. What was gonna say, Jude? I know one of the things that you brought up was you're so happy that when you saw the trailer was that they didn't have the tattoo on Aang's forehead.
Bro, it was the real red, the blue tattoo paint. Like that tattoo threw me off. Like, why y'all done brought Aang in the building with a tattoo? Y'all done tattooed a 10-year-old. Y'all wrong.
I thought that was weird. I actually prefer. That's one thing I actually do prefer about the M. Night movie is that I like the tattoo they had on the original kid, where it was kind of like a
traditional.
Yeah, like actually looked like real, but they're going more for like a cartoony look, which I still don't like. But I get it. I get what they're trying to go for. In particular, it was because of One Piece. If One Piece didn't exist at this time, I probably would have been more critical of all the Avatar stuff that's been shown, because One Piece went there. They just went comical with it. And
Dude, that's your cue.
oh, there it is. Oh yeah, there you go. How did you like the live action? I actually didn't even watch the live action. I didn't watch it with One Piece at all. Yeah.
Me personally, considering all the live actions that I've watched, especially watching Yu Yu Hakusho right now on Netflix, which is very cringy. Y'all go watch it, talk to me with my DM. You know how y'all feel. But no, me personally, I loved it. And that was trying to be.
That's what I've been hearing from people.
I was being non-biased, I'm a One Piece fan. You feel me? I like what they did with the One Piece live action. They compacted a lot of stuff. We did miss a lot of key points, but dealing with what as much material as they have to with One Piece and pushing it all into like one season as far as the first arc, you feel me? The first two arcs, I want to say. I thought it was fire. Like, it was fire. The cosmetics is fire. The outfits are on point. Like, when I say, like, when they did the canon side-by-side comparison of the outfits and costumes that they wore in the live action versus the animation, they were on point. Some of the scenes set up from the manga were on point. Like, certain pieces were missing because everything can't be exact, but and like the Fishman in there, they looked it good. Like, they didn't look like they actually did makeup. They weren't CGI Fishman. Like, these are actual makeup Fishman. You feel me? So it's like, oh yeah, this fire. I can't wait to see what they do with Jinbei, even though I know that's like so far away. You know, that's impaled down when we finally get goddamn Jinbei. But I can't wait to see what they do with a big dude as Jinbei. Like, that's gonna be fire. And I'm waiting to see Chopper, Frankie, and Brooke is really what's gonna have me say one season thing. It was over. Now season 2 and 3 because they say they're trying to push to 5 seasons. So
wait, they're gonna stop at 5 seasons?
They're trying to push 4 or 5 seasons. The show.
Got you. At least got you.
So that means, by the calculations of how they did the first season, that means the next few seasons we'll probably most likely make it to impale down in 5 seasons. So ain't no telling, man.
I heard they're gonna remake it. They're gonna remake the.
I just seen
the anime.
Last.
Yeah, they're gonna. I don't
know how.
Reduce the filler. Like, I was like, okay.
Oh. Bless. Okay.
That's what I said too, because people keep telling me you should watch it. I was like, it's 1,000 episodes. People are like, it's okay, it gets really good. It's episode 200. I'm like, what? Like, I can't. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no.
How is that a selling point? But if they're gonna make a new version that's like more, consolidated, kind of similar to Full Metal. I know Full Metal Brotherhood was like that.
Give me the highlights.
But they plan on changing the art now, so I don't know. It's supposed
to change the arc.
Slayer, the Jujutsu Kaisen type art style now. So,
are you saying that disappointed?
No, I'm just saying when stuff gets remade, I'm never really a fan. Either way it goes, even if the artwork is better and the story sucks, or the story's better and the artwork's ass, I just really ain't a fan of remakes. Especially animation to animation, you're just remaking another animation. I don't be for it. I don't be for it because they have remade a lot of shows growing up from Cartoon Network and stuff, and I like
So on this conversation of Avatar, so I want to get to these points before we take up too much of your time and you got to go. Now, I also want to get my co-hosts in this too as well, ask them some questions. I'm pretty sure y'all can tune in on this, but how do you feel about this question?
Okay. Okay, so this is wrong. You need to go back in time and kill Fire Lord Sozin, not Ozai.
Right.
That's the real answer.
Like, yeah, I mean,
the dude who committed the genocide.
He wasn't as bad as, you know what I'm saying? Like, his son carried the legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have stopped at him. You don't think so?
I mean, you could kill Ozai, but the genocide still, like, all the evidence are still gone. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel that.
And then killing Ozai, who says Iroh won't become who he is?
Oh yeah, true. Exactly. Yeah, true. Yeah.
So if we
have that brotherly pit towards each other, Iroh will be the only child. Your brother dead. You gonna have this big ass grudge, and you like somebody came kill my motherfucking brother. And like,
yeah, if anything, Iroh might turn evil straight up. I mean, he already was kind of like.
I mean, he was already a boy. Like,
he was already a little evil before he switched up.
Yeah, I mean, only because his son died. He was like, "Oh snap, the reality of war and like preciousness of life."
More conscious, like bruh from 300. Remember when his son got his head cut off, and then all of a sudden he was no more able to fight. But before that happened, he was like, "Dog, that's Iroh."
That's Iroh for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, we already here. I was gonna try to, whatever. We already here. So we're talking about Iroh. Remember when we talked at LA Comic Con?
Wait. Huh? We all agree we're not about to go kill no baby, though, right?
I don't think we should kill a baby.
I'm not killing a baby.
So, like I was saying,
we overlooked that part.
Maybe we should go back and try to rehabilitate Ozai. Maybe we be a mentor to Ozai. You know?
Yeah. I respect y'all feelings. So I'm gonna go ahead.
Are you killing him?
You killing the baby?
He's killing the baby.
I want to get into my fan theory. So, remember how we was talking about Iroh at LA Comic Con? We was talking about my fan theory, and I didn't want to say it to you while we was there. Fuck them kids. Hey, I didn't. She said it, not me. She said it, not me.
It's how they're raised.
She said it, not me.
No,
I didn't
learn nothing from Iroh.
You're supposed to read the comment.
I didn't say it.
I'm vice president of the Team Fuck Them Kids fan club, but I'm just saying I ain't killing no baby. I might just throw the nigga in the closet or something. I ain't killing the nigga.
That's crazy. Not the closet.
It's not better. It's a baby. It's a fresh start. It's how you raise it.
Nurture versus
nurture. Azula's messed up right now because of Ozai.
Azula's perfect, and there's nothing wrong with her.
Nurture versus nature. I think that's what
Azula
it's called.
Right?
She tried to murk May. If it wasn't for Ty Lee.
I know not of what you speak. That's crazy.
Hey, did you read the latest Azula comic?
Yeah, she looked
Azula in the spirit world.
I did. I read it. Yes, I did. That was fire. Yeah, still whooping Zuko's ass after all these years.
Like, it don't stop. Anyway, top notch
people.
Go on to Iroh.
Kidnapping people. That shit was crazy. So yeah, but going into my fan theory about Iroh, my fan theory is that how you brought up why he switched up because his son died, right? I have the idea that Iroh was influenced by Roku to protect the Avatar. Yes.
Oh, you mean like his spirit?
Huh? His spirit.
Okay, I was like, Roku's dead.
Yeah, they never even met. Roku wasn't. I mean, Iroh wasn't even alive when Roku was living. Okay. I'm saying his spirit. Now, a lot of people was like, "Oh, well, how is that going to happen? Because he's not the Avatar. How could Roku reach out to Iroh?" Well,
Iroh saw Roku's dragon.
There you go. And I'm so glad you brought it up.
Oh yeah. Wow. Hey, I did not know this, guys. I had no idea he had this prepped.
Wow.
That's all. So that's another thing. I feel like if you go into the beginning of rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender, there is so many, I feel like, cookie crumbs of kind of connecting the relationship between Roku and between Iroh. So there's a scene, right, where I have I'm not gonna take up too much of your time because I will nerd out. But I'll make a video on it. But I just want to hear how you feel about my fan theory. If you validate it, I know I'm on the right path, and then we can just go on from there.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, the only thing I would say is that because the narrative doesn't naturally say anything about it, particularly in the episode the solstice where Roku possesses Aang, there's no mention of it. So then you could be like, oh, why didn't Iroh say anything at that point? Oh, you have something about that. Okay.
It's multiple things, bro. Okay. They touch
because that would be my first thing. I'd be like, well, how come he didn't make a mention of anything when Roku was possessing Aang? You know.
So they touched on this so many different ways, and like I said, I can't because I'm gonna make a whole video. Even if you want to collaborate on the video and you want to do it together, I would love doing that, and I would share my notes with you. However, going into this fan theory, so in the beginning of Avatar, they sit here and they talk about, oh man, they talk to Aang because there's a scene where he goes and sees how the Fire Nation burned down like a whole forest. It was filled with like, birds and whoever it was supposed to, like animals and whatnot. And he goes, man, like
say hi because he doesn't get any attention. Say hi.
Oh, hey. You are the second person to bring their pet on scene.
Nah, he's the one he does that when I talk too long and he's like, hey, I want food or give me attention.
Cats are aggressive. But Jude, tell them about the situation the first time we had a pet on the show, if you want to.
There wasn't no motherfucking cat. Hey, our second episode last year or a year before, I don't know, we've been doing this for
time. We only been for a year. Go ahead.
So, bruh, shout out to Mia. Mia brought on a fucking pet possum that she rescued in the middle of the street, and now it's a full-grown possum. She kept it as a pet, but she rescued it as a baby possum that was about to die.
So it got domesticated.
Yes, and bro, he's like, I got a surprise for y'all, and I'm like, okay, and we all like confused. I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah, I want you to meet this special friend, and we like, okay,
special friend. It's our second episode. We really ain't in it like that, so we a little special friend. Man, bro, she brought, all I know is, nigga, this possum got to walking across the screen, nigga.
Oh my God. You're like, wait, time out. Did you leave your door open?
Looking like, nigga, is that what I think it is? Nigga, she had a pet possum and she holding it, cuddling it with possum.
Who was that?
Oh, you heard that too? Okay, I thought that was me. I was like, did someone just say that?
That's my dog.
Oh, okay. I'm like, bro, did somebody do a donation? Like, what we?
Yeah, I heard that too. I'm like, what?
Okay, so all right, going back to my fan theory. The scene where he has to talk to the spirit and save that town. Right before he goes to the town, he goes into this burnt forest, and they talk about how they talk about how are you going to connect to the spirit world? You don't have nobody to teach you, and yada yada yada. And Roku, well, he's like, yeah, but Roku's dead. And as soon as they say that and ask, how are you going to learn how to connect to spirits?
Snap. Hey, I don't know if you have this yet, but have you read the Suki comic?
I haven't read the Suki
You can tie it to that because actually Kyoshi does show herself to Suki in the prison.
And that's so I'm gonna get into that. So they foreshadow went into talking about Iroh, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're talking about a scene with Iroh. And like you said, he saw the dragon. So they show Iroh. They foreshadow Iroh.
Wait, isn't Iroh technically related? No.
Yes. No, he's not related. But
because I know there's some sort of relation. Zuko. Yeah, it's Zuko. It's because of his mom.
Correct. So he's related
her name is
and then I'm actually glad you brought that up because spoilers alert for the people as Avatar fans, he's not actually related to was this Sozin? Yeah, he's not related to Sozin. We find out in the comics that he's not actually related. Like he kind of she stepped out on Fire Lord Ozai. They talk about
no. Zuko is Ozai's kid. Like for real.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah. No, he is. It's just that
conversation that he had with his sister.
Yeah, no, that's his half sister, Ki. That new character. That's his half sister.
No. I'm talking about the comic you brought up with what's her name?
I think it's not Izumi.
Azula, the comic that you brought up earlier with the spirits and all that stuff, and then
Spirit Temple.
Yeah, and then they go into the lake, they meet the spirit, and
you mean the lady with the faces, the lady of many faces? I can't remember the actual spirit's name. But no. The Zuko's mom and dad is Ursa and Ozai. She stepped out but had another child, but also decided to like forget her children, which was a weird thing.
It kind of seemed like they said that they wasn't related, but I'll double check.
No, it's Ki is half sister, but no, Zuko, that's Ozai's kid, unfortunately.
Okay, but all right, well that's still good. That's a good thing. But he in this scene, right? He's lying. Like it's revealed that he's been lying to Zuko like this whole time. So like the first scene, we all know that Iroh can see spirits. He sees the spiritual realm. So like the first beam that gets shot up in the air that everybody can see, not even people who have a special connection to the spirit realm, they all see it. And Iroh is deliberately lying to Zuko, saying like, oh, it's probably nothing. Let's just turn another way. All this different stuff. And I believe it was Roku who sent Iroh on this path to find the Avatar, because it's the Avatar's job to fix and balance the world. However, Aang was trapped. And so I think that I'm just going to sum up everything that I feel. Iroh has all these different bending techniques, which is learning how to do lightning bending, meeting the dragons, all this stuff that's influenced, I feel like, because he's trying to create balance, which is why I think he founded the White Lotus. And he knows he has this in-depth knowledge of all the different bending techniques and styles. And I feel like nobody else could have influenced balance in all these different influence of culture besides Roku. And knowing how Iroh was, which is he was a warlord, all this different stuff, the only person who could be powerful enough or famous enough to convince him to do something like that would be Roku, because he was loyal to the Fire Nation at that time. And the example that I brought this up, just like the one you brought up with the story of Suki, is I think his name is Zhang.
Oh yeah, Roku showed up to Zhang.
So Roku showed up to Zhang.
Yeah.
And convinced Zhang to teach Aang how to firebend. So,
hey, I just thought about it the way. You know how there's always a John in the hood? It's funny how they have a character named Zhang. Like I wonder if they intentionally did that.
Or Jang.
They sure to have a Zhang. Yeah, no, that there is precedence for. I mean, even Kyoshi when she possessed Aang during the Avatar Day episode, and the whole village saw that when she was like, "Yeah, I killed Shin the Conqueror, and I'll do it again." Like I was like, "Stop it! I'm trying to get out."
Right.
Freaking Kyoshi. Oh man, if you guys have not read the Kyoshi novels, please. I mean, I don't know if you like are really like into like books, but like the Kyoshi novels are so fucking good.
You tell everybody every time. You tell
every opportunity I have. The Kyoshi novels are they're low key my favorite Avatar like story. Like even beyond like Airbender and Korra. Like it is one of my very favorite Avatar stories.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna read it. I just haven't had a chance because I've been doing all this other stuff. But I will read it.
And there's audio
now.
Too.
Now we, in contact. I'll definitely hit you up and tell you what I think. But what do you think about that fan theory? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can set it up because there is examples of it like everywhere. Like, and you can strengthen it by saying like it happened with Suki, it happened with that village, it happened with Zhang. Like like it's not like it's unheard of to see an Avatar spirit, when you yourself are not the Avatar.
Got you. All right. So if you want to collaborate on that, I would love to do it with you. But that is my fan theory, and I'll get in more depth with you now that we on Instagram and you whatever. I know you busy, but I'll like share notes and whatnot. But past all that, I wanted to also bring up the fact that you talked about Avatar in the video game and how they should probably do one based off of like Mass Effect.
Well, more importantly, Knights of the Old Republic, which is the same. BioWare also made Knights of the Old Republic. So the idea with that is that the cool thing about Knights of the Old Republic is that it takes place 4,000 years before the Star Wars movies ever happened. And you play a character named Revan, and you get to make the whole history, right? And it doesn't really affect the timeline because it's literally 4,000 years prior. So we have we know there's 10,000 years between Avatar 1 and Avatar Korra. Just stick it in the 5,000th year of Avatar. So you don't have to affect if you want to do some stuff with Wan and maybe the first or second Avatar as a storyline, or you still want to do some stuff with Korra or Aang or whoever's going to be the Earth Avatar after. It won't affect it. And you can have the idea of it being like a lost Avatar tale. Like, oh, we don't know exactly what happened to that Avatar, but you as a player can create that Avatar. Like you can literally create what your base form is going to be. Are you going to be from the Fire Nation? Are you going to be from Earth? You know, you can do all of that stuff and have your own storyline. You can have your own companions in the same way that in Knights of the Republic and Mass Effect, it's very, key to have your companions to talk to them and figure out who you're going to bring along on your adventure. Like all that stuff is just set up so perfectly for an Avatar game. And I don't know why they keep squandering the property when they keep coming out with these these mobile games that are these tiki-tack half-baked games that they've been doing for like the past 10 years. It's like, you guys know you're sitting on a gold mine here, right? Like I don't really think they realize how big Avatar is. If you made a proper AAA like Ghost of Tsushima level video game, that shit's gonna sell. And I don't understand. I mean, I get it, Nickelodeon's always been broke. That's just been notorious. They've been notorious for being broke, but like, damn.
Yeah, you brought up Dragon Age, you brought up like I said, Mass
Effect. I brought up a few. Sifu I brought up at one point for like the fight. I don't know if you remember that game, but that was like a little indie game. And that one's not even a AAA game. That's a AA game. And that was fire. Their fight scenes and stuff like that. It's possible. It's so possible. Persona. I talk about Persona as well.
Yeah. So I feel like that's like once you showed the picture that you showed me, like where you get the character design and oh my god, bro! Like me being a fan of all those video games that you mentioned. I'm like, I didn't know I needed this until you brought it up. And I was like, now it has to happen. So now that you're in the works of like bringing your book to movies, like you need to talk to them. And be
that's
like,
what someone said. Someone said you should like write it. I'm like, I don't know if I'll write it. But man, someone needs to pitch it to them. Like,
no, I'm saying that. Go ahead, do that. And talk it that because I'm telling you, like I would like how Juice said. Like I ain't really been in the video games like that in a while, but if they did, I'm definitely going back to being a gamer.
Yeah, man. That happened with Hogwarts Legacy. That's another one that I mentioned.
That's what almost brought me back.
Is that people really bought a PlayStation 5 just to play that game? You know what I mean? Like, or
it died down like the whole month though. That shit it burnt.
Well, you know why? It's because they didn't do a good job of making it replayable. Like the way that Mass Effect is replayable, the way that like some of those Telltale games are replayable, they just made it be like, oh, just a one and done game. Like they kind of messed up on that, I think, and like they didn't really have like good DLC for it, nothing like that. But I think the sequel, now that they have like the foundation and they know how popular it can be, I think when they do a sequel, it's really that's gonna be like the Mass Effect 2. It's like the Mass Effect 1.
It's one of my favorite games on computer or PC games growing up, and it's like I wouldn't expect none of y'all to probably even know, but it's called Wizard 101, and it was a PC game coming up, and like when I seen Hogwarts Legacy coming out on PS5, I was like, oh, bro, this is Wizard 101, and like 3,000 times better. Like I'm about to get this, but I let a month go by in some games now just to see what the
hype is.
Be like,
I just love what Black TikTok did with it when they went hood with it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
I love the game like characters. That's the real reason why I wanted like the hair, the face.
I had my character with the locks. It looked like me. Like it was kind of scary. I was like, they did such a good job with like the foundation of the game, because I feel like the story wasn't really there. Like it was kind of like a
cosmetic
story.
There's no storyline to it.
Yeah, and then the world, walking through Hogwarts, they designed literally everything. Like you can go all the way down to the dungeons, you can go all the way to Hogsmeade, the towers, everything. Like, but I don't feel like you really felt like a student in the game. Like it felt like they pushed you out of Hogwarts really fast. Like, hey, just go out and kill goblins now. It's like, no, I kind of want to be a student. Like they don't have Quidditch in it. Like I want to like actually feel like I'm a student.
Yeah, like you said, going to class, learning magic.
Yeah, just going to class. Like Bully. Like it should have been Bully, but like with Hogwarts.
That made me mad.
With everybody here being an Avatar fan, if you was to be a bender, what would be your element, and what do you feel like is the most powerful element in the Avatar universe?
Well, be water, my friends.
What?
That's it. Of course.
And also bloodbending OP. So yeah.
See,
Yeah, blood for me.
You're like, I knew bloodbending was gonna go.
Of course. Miller's.
We had a question before.
Firebending, and I have it tattooed, so like, don't play with me, you guys.
I believe you, because after that statement about Azula not having no
She's
issue,
my favorite across like
You
any
were
fictional world. I love her.
Wait, so if you're fire, are you a Zutara? Are you a Zutara shipper?
Yes, actually.
too.
Aang was
Yeah,
too
me
nice
too.
for me. He made me sick.
Yo, I mean, not so much that he was too nice, but it felt like he kind of like
he was a monk.
guilted Katara into the relationship a little
And
bit.
then not. And I didn't like that.
That,
Like, okay, so-
what's
I
it
feel like
called?
they just did it because it was like, oh, that's the hero, and that's like the hero.
Well, I was
like,
just like, after watching Korra, I was like, they had to do it to bring back the Air Nation because he. Had
well, that, I mean, he can
like,
date somebody else. You don't have to be
What
Katara.
is that
You know,
psychology
I think it has to
called
be a healer. I
when
think
you,
it has
when
to
you
be
fall in love with the person that saved you? It's a psychology term for that.
hero effect or whatever. Like,
Yeah. It's
and
hero
she's the
something.
healer, so whatever. You see, he didn't love Boomy the same he loved his other children, so I'm just saying, like,
I actually like that. I mean, we can talk about Korra because I know that gets a lot controversial, but I actually
Why?
prefer that they did a lot of the realistic, because one of my favorite series is Degrassi, and the reason I like Degrassi is because it's very messy. like it actually felt like a show about real teens and like real interactions with adults and stuff like that. Because it wasn't the fact that he was a bad dad. It's because he had the shoulders of the freaking air nomad culture on his shoulders, and he only had one airbender kid. So once that kid came, yeah, obviously you're gonna spend more time with that kid.
All the pressure, yeah.
It's like having one kid that do sports when you grew up doing sports and everybody else is like art majors. He's like, oh, it's me and him. We finna go practice. We finna go. You feel me?
That's not the
We're
case.
not gonna just.
Also.
We ain't gonna just dismantle Aang like his character like that though.
Yeah, no, some people be like, they made him look like terrible. It wasn't that he was a bad, because that's a realistic thing to do in parenting.
Yeah.
Period.
No,
There's
it
always
is.
going to be preferences on your kids, but like he has this astronomical part of it of being like, hey, I have to continue the airbending line. Like that's a little bit different. I feel like Crane.
That's fine. I'm just like, Boomy's my favorite of his kids, so I felt.
Oh,
bad
Boomy's
for
dope. And Kaya's kind of boring.
Boomy's my
Kaya's a little
She
boring.
is. I wanted
She's
to
a
like
little
her,
boring.
but she
Yeah.
needed more.
Yeah, she
King
is some more.
Boomy is my favorite character in Avatar: Last Airbender. That's my favorite character. So
King
My
Boomy?
favorite character.
King Boomy's my
Zuko,
favorite.
probably.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Lance was
The mad genius. That's my guy. But okay, so you said fire, you said water. Ju?
Big blood bender. I'm about to go.
Oh, not even water. He just goes straight for the blood.
Oh, I'm on some Magneto shit. Fuck that metal, nigga. I'm fucking with the iron in your body now, nigga.
Well, I actually wouldn't be. Let me preface. I actually would not be a bloodbender as a waterbender. I would want to do something similar to you guys know capoeira, right? And like the I think it's called the ginga. Is that or jinga? The sway they do, right? I kind of want to. My character would do that with waterbending because you know how waterbending is all about the flow, right? And I would want to incorporate that as like my waterbending thing, and that I don't think that's really conducive to like bloodbending. Bloodbending is a little bit more forceful and stuff like that. But yeah, I've always liked the ebb and flow of water. I always like the idea of like you can mold yourself into like any situation.
I just want to be a bloodbender because I want to move like Eddie from Tekken when I do all my blood bending.
Oh my god.
Why are you? How do you know you're going to be that strong of a bender? What if you're the type who
Ooh,
has to wait for the
fair.
blood? Okay? What if you're an average waterbender? Like, stop thinking you're going to be the best one.
I never put the best on there. I just said I was going to be good at what I do. You might have thought that was the best you saw.
No. Because you're over here like, I'm going to be blood bending left and right. You got to wait. You're going to be average Joe most of the time.
Not everybody's going to be Yakone and Amon.
Exactly.
If you see it and feel like this may be the best you've seen by me not saying that, that's on you. I just said I want to move like Eddie when I do my shit. I never said the best. I just want to move like Eddie when I do my blood bending.
Okay.
That's the best
I hear a
thing.
lot of blood bending. I'm not hearing that you want to be a doctor and that's what you
Or a
want to be
healer. Oh,
I'm just hearing about the blood and like forcing people against their will. You sound like a villain. That's all.
You is a Zula fan. I am a villain. You should.
Well played.
I am a bad guy. I never said I was a good guy. I never said, hey, I want to learn water bending to be a saint. I just said I ain't killing no babies. Other than that, hey, fuck.
Hey, actually, one of the more deadly people in the Avatar verse is a healer who shows up in book 2 of Kyoshi. I'm just saying, just so you can have a little hint of why the Kyoshi books are so awesome. One of the most deadly people is a healer.
Did y'all not hear my reference to the bloodbending? I went straight to Magneto. I want to be the bad guy. I am the villain.
I mean, they're not based on politics. You know, it was whatever your politics are.
It doesn't mean you're going to be a strong villain. Like, you might have to be a villain once a month. That was my point. You can't be doing it every day. You might just be an average bloodbender.
If you want me to start off on the low tier, that's okay. But I believe in I, so I know for sure if I got the best power, I'm going to be the best.
Oh my god.
I hope you study your way to the top. I feel like it would have to be like in your genes and your blood pool, whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is with Yakon and Amon.
I feel like if you would study it up more.
Not even Katara could do it. I mean, no, that's the case. Like a true bloodbender.
I don't remember the calendar.
All right, so look, I'm gonna tell y'all mine, right? I feel as though one, I'm already an Earth sign. You know,
I knew it. I was gonna say Earth before you said it.
Off top. You know what I'm saying? Already an Earth sign. You know what I'm saying? And also, I feel like, in my opinion, Earth bending is the most OP bending in the whole verse. One, not just because, like, okay, you know what I mean? We got Toph and all this stuff that are OP, but I'm talking about like what it can do. Like, you almost are a whole avatar with one bending. Now, mind you, I see you about to say something. Let me get.
Well, no, I was gonna agree with you and say that you need to read the first Kyoshi book, because there are two Earthbenders in there who are insane. One's named Jinju. He's like my favorite antagonist, point blank, of the entire Avatar series. He's the villain of that one. And Yoon, false Avatar Yoon, who is Kyoshi's friend.
Right.
OP. Gosh, you need to read that book. It's so good.
OP, I have. That's all you have.
Oh, okay, bro. Like the Earthbending in that book.
Some of them I have, not the one that you mentioned, but this one I have. And people in the Avatar community are like, "Oh, who would win between this character and you?" Because everybody's fanboying over you right now. But in my opinion, right, you got, and they don't even touch over every bending that Earthbenders can do. But I'm gonna bring it up. And Toph, when we first get introduced to Toph, and she beats all the other wrestler type benders and all that stuff, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but when it was all this dust around when she was fighting them, she controlled the dust. So exactly. So one, that's like air bending because you're controlling dust. Because I was there, she literally controlled the dust in the whole arena. So that's one. Two, we talking about metal bending. That's another different basically type element. Three, we got when that's not Katara, Korra. When Korra was poisoned in the series, it was liquid metal. So now we got liquid, which is water, air.
Which, okay, by the way, that's false Avatar Yoon. That's one of the things he does in the book, by the way.
Exactly. Like, so we got water, we got air, we got earth, and then we got lava bending, which is fire. So if you really wanted to be like OP and really be a master of like all the elements, you know what I'm saying? That's really like that's all you need to do is earth bending. If you can be a master of all those different elements, it will be earth. Earth is the most OP. And lastly, I want to say, I think it was on your show, I mean, one of your like breakdowns, you said that there was theorized that one of the avatars that was a earthbender could like basically blood bend, because we have
not blood bend, or it was more like a
like
mud bending, but it was like a liquidy kind of thing. It's just because that particular thing that he does in the story, and the reason why he does it, it's just so heartbreaking. And I'm sorry, like that is just, it's such a good book. the Avatar Yoon.
Yeah. So basically, it's a possibility that all the metal that you have inside your body, we don't know if they'll go that far, but they might be able to blood bend too.
But that's a big misconception though in the fan base. Metal bending isn't actually metal bending. It's actually just minuscule earth bending, because you're bending the impurities of earth within a metal. That's the reason why you can't bend. I think platinum is what they had Korra claps in or whatever. But yeah, you can't bend the iron in someone's blood. because there's no actual earth within that kind of iron. I mean, it's a whole thing, but like I know a lot of people think that you can bloodbend as an earthbender, but you really can't.
We'll see. I think you can. I think you can. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you can.
Are you trying to bloodbend too then?
Would I? Listen. Hey, hold on. No,
not another one.
I want to take up too much of his time. But if you look at the Avatar universe and what the fuck they go against, spirits, people who showing explosives out their minds, like big ass giant sea creatures and serpents, and I'm not finna. If I can do anything. I'm gonna do everything. Anything that is in my power to do, I'm going to do it. There's no morals in surviving. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, let me not do this because it goes against my morals. No, even Katara, when her life is on the line or somebody else's life is on the line, she is going to bloodbend, and I am with that. You feel me? Is it going to be my go-to? No, but if I had the ability to do it and I can save some people and I can protect my nation, X, Y, and Z, I'm gonna do it for sure. Well, yeah. Well, anyways,
fire doesn't have bloodbending, so just
y'all limited. Y'all limited. Firebending, I feel like it's not. I
like that it can do lightning.
Actually, they're the one element that it comes from within, so they don't need.
And that's what I like too. That we don't have to like carry a jug of water. We don't have to be. I know you're always in the earth, but like you know what I mean. And then air, I feel like I would choke people if he gave me air, so I'm not doing that.
Oh no!
I just that's
a thing. Gyatso do that. Yeah. Gyatso, I think
to the Earth King.
Well, that's what people theorize. Like Gyatso did that to all the firebenders, but we have actually seen it with Zahir. Zahir is the one who actually did.
Zahir was so cool. Oh my God.
Zahir was pretty good. Zahir is really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, man. Antoine Bandele, we really appreciate you being on the podcast tonight, man. We appreciate the conversation. We loved the book. We laughed. We had a good time. We definitely would love to have you back one day, maybe when your other projects come out, or if we do an episode that you're interested in. We just appreciate your time, and is there anything that you want to tell people before we get off, like maybe something that you're working on, maybe advice to writers, anything that's on your mind?
Well, I'm currently writing TJ3. I'm waiting for my editors to, like I was talking before, I write in sequences, I write in episodes. So I wrote the first 2 episodes of the 3rd book. And I'm waiting for feedback on that one right now. Like, literally next week, I'm trying to schedule a meeting with them. But other than that, I'm actually getting into romance because I like to make some money off of this stuff, like some consistent money, and romance authors make bank. So I'm actually going to be doing romance for the first time. I'm going to be doing a sports romance that includes a baseball player and a softball player, and how they get together at UCLA. Again in LA, yeah. I try to keep things in LA so I don't shoot myself in the foot. But other than that, I think those are the 2 major projects that I have in terms of publications. Avatar, obviously the Last Airbender adaptation on Netflix, the live action one is coming out in February, so I'll be covering that on my YouTube channel. And you can follow me anywhere if you just type in my name, Antoine Bandele, like on Google or YouTube or Instagram, you'll find me. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, man. I thought you was gonna say "Be water, my friends."
Oh, well, I reserved that for my YouTube channel.
Be water.
That's a YouTube exclusive, which is most people don't realize is a Bruce Lee quote. People think it's like some Avatar thing. Like, no, it's Bruce Lee, guys. Like, what?
Right. If they know, they know. Be still like water. You have to be still like water. Water can take any shape. Like, okay. Hey, he was talking that shit in that interview.
Like a cup, It becomes the cup,
It becomes the cup.
That was the one. That's the one when he was talking about like there is no enemies and all of that. So
yeah. It was a long interview, but it was a very good one.
Yeah, it's a long interview. It's like an interview, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a long one. Yeah, I think it's one of his first American ones, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely American interview. That was right before the movie or right after the movie, one or the other, I think, because they was tripping on him about doing the movie and then teaching Americans the martial arts.
Yeah.
And so his people back home was tripping on it. That's why it's a conspiracy thinking that he got killed, because his own people were not having it, that he came to America and showed the way of martial arts to the gringos. Shit, I don't know how to put it.
because you know Gringo's American, but you know he did found a school in Oakland, California.
I think you meant Gaijin. Wow. Not Gaijin. Oh, that's bad. That's Japanese. I don't even know what they say in Mandarin.
Ain't that what Mexican call white people though? Gringo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Gringo people.
But no, I got you. That's what I'm saying. I said, but he did found a school in Oakland where a lot of
yeah.
I think that's
I believe he did some work in San Francisco.
Kareem used to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He was in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he played a tall nigga.
The one who was blind. Yeah,
he couldn't see shit. Yeah. Not the nigga with the afro. What's the little brother name for the movie? The tall black dude, that was fighting.
Yeah, I forgot his name in the movie, but yeah, that's the dude that you're talking about. And Bruce Lee had to poke into the light, you know what I mean, to the curtains to make him blind and get that rear naked choke. And yeah, but all that to say, man, we appreciate y'all for tapping in with Tapping No Capping. Appreciate you, Mealers, for coming on. You know what I mean? You've been a blessing. Thank you for reading the book with me. Straw Hat Jew, you know, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for coming on today. And Antoine Bandele, I'm a big fan, man. Continue to do what you're doing. Love the book. Going to read some more. Hope to see you at some more Comic Cons. And maybe I'll do some shorts with you, or we can collaborate, wherever the case may be.
For sure. I'll be at the Pasadena Flea Market every second Sunday for the entirety of 2024. I got that secured, so that's going to be cool.
Okay, there you go. See, that's what we was waiting for. Something like that. All right, man. Well, we holla at y'all next time. Y'all have a good night.